Good morning. Good morning. You are listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEG Talk Radio.com, or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, WCEG Network. I am attorney Mel LaGrone, immigration attorney, and I am going to be your host today for Beyond the Border for about the next 45 minutes or so. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network, and like and follow us and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. You guys, you can download us on all the free mobile apps. We're on Apple. Go to the Apple Store, WCEG Talk Radio, Apple TV, Apple Watch, and Android Google Play Store. Last but not least, disclaimer, the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests, not of WCEG Network. And thank you all for your continued support. So, all right, I know I haven't been here in a minute. I think it's been maybe, I think this is the second show that I've had of the new season. And with me being, between like St. Thomas and Georgia, sometimes it gets a little hectic, but I wanted to make sure that I popped back on this time to follow up with you guys on what I talked about last week, or last month, I should say, the last time I was on. So on Beyond the Border, we talk all things immigration. So it could be anything regarding what's happening in the news today. It could be the presidency. It could be Trump immigration issues. It could be Biden immigration issues. It could be anything that's just kind of happening in the world. And right now we have a lot that's happening in the world. So if you guys may remember, the last time I was on, I was talking about the new House bills that are being introduced into the legislation regarding immigration. And for the most part, they are all anti-immigration laws that they are trying to get passed. And it is ridiculous. And it's like state by state by state, they are following this same pattern. So what happened recently, so Georgia has just passed one, and I'm going to talk about that one, but I want to go back to the one that was passed in Texas. So in Texas, what happened was there was a law that was passed about if you are law enforcement. Okay, so law enforcement can stop you on the street if they think that you are an illegal immigrant. Okay, if they think that you are in the U.S. without status, they can stop you on the street. And it is called, I want to make sure that I get the right one. This was the SB 4. All right. And what it is doing is it is allowing the criminal justice system to intervene into the federal immigration system, which that can't happen. Okay. Because immigration is all constitutional. It has nothing to do with state level laws and criminal issues. So they passed, so the bill, okay, the bill got introduced, the bill got passed, and then the federal government enjoined it to stop it, all right? Then the Supreme Court, this happened all within a couple days. The Supreme Court then said, nope, they're going to allow Texas to do it, all right? Same day, the Court of Appeals then shot it down and was like, no, they can't do it. So right now there's this huge fight, in the laws regarding whether or not it is okay or not. And I really think, and I want you guys to, send some comments and talk about it and ask some questions at a later date, and I can always address them. But this is something that obviously affects, it affects the state of Texas, and it affects the world, because what's going to happen is other states are going to start following suit and following pattern. Florida already has one in place to where if you, so let's say I have a friend who is undocumented and I am driving them in Florida, and we get stopped by the police, and the police can ask both of us for our IDs and ask my friend if my friend has papers and things like that. If they say no, then I will get in trouble. It is a criminal crime. It's like a misdemeanor, and I could get 6 months in jail for that. That is crazy. So with Texas, it is now allowing, and just like Florida, because that's obviously discrimination, racial profiling, the whole nine. But in Texas, same thing, because if a police officer can just walk up to somebody while they're walking down the street, stop them and ask them for their papers, who are they really asking for papers, y'all? I mean, they're not going to ask somebody that looks like this for papers, okay? It's going to be, Hispanic, African American, anybody of a different national origin. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, you might look like that you crossed the border and they're Caucasian. You get what I'm saying? Even though there are a lot of people here in the US that are from Europe, UK, all these different other places that are not, Black or brown people who are here also undocumented without status. But they're not going to get stopped on the street. I guarantee you that. So it's going to be a whole lot of racial profiling issues. And I really believe Texas is going to have a huge trouble with that, a huge problem with that to get this passed. But now let's talk about Georgia, okay? Because we are in Georgia, and Georgia has passed House Bill 1105. All right. Now, a few years back, and I don't remember exactly when it was, but Georgia had what was called, you had like your sanctuary cities, and then you had your counties and things like that would, they were called 287G counties, to where if you were undocumented and you got arrested in that county, when you went to jail, all right, the sheriff's department would, run your information, all that type of stuff. They're seeing that you're undocumented, and then they would notify ICE. Okay. And this was when they were doing it way back in the day. So for things like driving without a license, DUI, a traffic stop, ICE was being notified, and these individuals were detained in jail until ICE decided that they wanted to come pick them up, and they usually had a time frame limit. And then ICE would come pick them up, and then they're separated from their families and not able to move forward or do anything because they got pulled over for a driving without a license, or or a traffic ticket and got arrested. So I remember that was a while ago. And then what happened was there were the counties that decided, like, we're not doing this. Okay. This doesn't make any sense. If you're not here in my jail, basically that's what the sheriffs were saying. If you're not here in my jail on, really, serious type of crimes, felonies, things like that, then why am I going to notify ICE on you because you're here because you drove without a driver's license? Does that really mean that you're a danger to society? Does that really mean that you're a danger to anyone on the road, things like that? So they agreed to not be part of these, 287G agreements. Well, now the bill is being back, like it's being reintroduced now as, a different name or a different number, or, however all that goes. And they're going to make it where the sheriff's departments, if they don't call ICE on someone who is undocumented, then they will get in trouble somehow. I don't even know how that works. Like, how can they get in trouble? Are they going to get fined? Are they going to, they're not going to be I don't think you're going to put a sheriff's department in jail because they don't do that. But they're saying, hey, we're going to sanction you or whatever if you don't do it. So I know that there were a lot of immigration attorneys, in the state of Georgia that, went to the state capitol and things like that. And they're like, this is just, it's not cool. It's not a good thing, because what it does is it separates families unnecessarily. Now, I understand everybody, and we always talk about this all the time. Look, I understand that, you should come to the United States, with legal status, or come and be able to get legal status. And you shouldn't be here, flying under the radar and, things like that. But a lot of people don't think about that, when they're coming here. When they're coming here, they're thinking about, I'm escaping the horrible or the poverty or whatever is happening in my country to bring my family to the US for a better life. And all I want to do is, work, fly under the radar, take care of my family and things like that. So if that person has to drive, and obviously I understand that you're not supposed to drive without a driver's license, but if they do have to drive because they have to go, whatever, pick up medication for their kids or whatever, and they get stopped by the police for, going across the line, something really minor, what I'm saying? How many of us drift across the line sometimes just because, we're not thinking, or we roll through a stop sign? The effect that has on, anyone here that is not a United States citizen is much more detrimental than it is for US citizens. So it's going to cause a lot of family separation. It's going to cause, I believe, a lot of issues when it comes down to immigration, like even immigration detention centers and things like that here in Georgia being bogged down for, cases that are not necessarily, severe enough, and I'm just going to say that loosely, but severe enough to be in immigration court or immigration detention centers. So the attorneys, the immigration attorneys here are really, really fighting that tooth and nail, and I am all for it because it really doesn't make any sense. Now, when you listen to the news and the House representatives and the Senate and people talking about it and the reasons why and this, that, and the other. Now they're saying that this bill was always kind of on the back burner to be, reintroduced, that it was, in the making. Okay. And then you have a lot of, and that's kind of the Republican view of it. So the Democratic view of it is kind of like, no, you all are introducing this bill because of the, I don't know if you all, obviously, listen to the news and the radio and read the paper and all that type of stuff that I try not to do too much of because obviously it's all negativity, but I do keep up with it for the most part. But there was a young lady at UGA and she was a nursing student there. And apparently she went out for a run or something like that. And she ended up being murdered. And she was murdered by a Venezuelan immigrant. And this Venezuelan immigrant, now, mind you, he doesn't have anything in his history, okay, or background, meaning that it was anything violent, like no, I'm saying, no crimes of, guns or violence or anything like that. I believe what they said was that he was stopped, maybe, I think in another state like New York or something like that. And I think it was something small, stopped driving without a license or had a ticket, or I think there was some sort of, like had a theft or something like that in another state. And everyone is blaming the system, basically saying that had those authorities contacted ICE when he was arrested for a theft or arrested for a driving without a license, that we wouldn't be in this situation right now because he would be detained, he would be in immigration custody, he might have even been deported, and that would have made it so obviously, this UGA nursing student would not have been murdered. So that's how they're kind of connecting all of that together. And, I get what what the premise is, and I get what they're trying to say. But, who knows? I mean, he got arrested for theft, or he got arrested for driving without a license, or a ticket, or something like that. It was not a violent crime. So how would anybody know, what I'm saying, that he had any sort of, let's say, violent nature or whatever in his, history or background, to, contact ICE and let them know. So I, I think that it's a stretch, but I understand obviously what they're trying to do, and they're trying to protect, citizens. But y'all, you got to really, really like kind of dive into this, like really, like how many, if they probably document it, because I don't know how they have, or if they have, or if they would, but more crimes are committed by United States citizens, okay, than they are by undocumented immigrants. Um, because for the most part, like I said, undocumented immigrants, they just want to fly under the radar. They just want to, you know, take care of their family, live life here without having to live, whatever life they were living in their home country, and not be on anybody's radar. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what it's gonna, what'll happen once it, if it does, totally pass and becomes a law. But then on the flip side, so dealing with the same situation with the UGA nursing student and the Venezuelan gentleman, Georgia House Bill 301, that is allowing state residents the right to sue local government if they don't enforce this, like those like state bans of the sanctuary laws. And so I think, so in other words, you see what I'm saying? So they're going to go hand in hand, because if, immigrant gets put into the custody of a local criminal justice system, and the sheriff's department does not, contact ICE and let them know that they are there, and let's say they release the person back out on the street, and then if that person does anything, you know what I'm saying, like, what happened, then let's say the parents, you know what I'm saying, would then be able to sue the government, because the government didn't protect their child, because the government allowed for this undocumented immigrant back on the street after they were arrested and they didn't contact ICE. I think this is really, really, really far-fetched. I think it is giving, I don't know, it's too, I think it's going to get too sticky. It's going to get too, I don't know, too convoluted. I think it's just going to be all totally messed up. But of course, this is what is happening right now, because what are we in? We are in March of 2024, and what's happening in 2025? Y'all, we are getting a new president, or we're keeping the same president. I don't even know what's happening. But so everybody is, out there like, okay, well, what can we do for immigration? What this, that, and the other, because it's such a hot topic. And so everyone is just trying to enact all these, bills and laws and this, that, and the other, before 2025, to ultimately see what's going to happen then. Which is, like I said, that's kind of scary, because my understanding is that I think President Biden has, I think he's like signed into law or something like that, the most amount of immigration, laws that there ever has been. And I don't know if it's good or bad, because it seems like it's just, how you just do work just to be doing work. So that's kind of like how I feel like it is. It's like, is this really meaningful? Is it going to really help in any way, shape, or form? Because the immigration laws and policies are so just convoluted from one side to the other. And, if all these things keep getting signed, it's like nobody's going to actually know what we're doing when it comes to immigration, which is why right now we are so just kind of like bogged down with, trying to figure out the details and trying to help our clients and trying to see, you know what I'm saying, how certain things apply, and everything. I even heard that because the immigration court, so because the immigration that we call them, you know, like the TAs or the government or whatever, or ICE and everything, didn't file like something like 200,000 uh notice to appears, which means if you get put in immigration court, you have to get a notice to appear. That notice to appear has to, you know, it's got requirements on it to make sure that it is good and not deficient. And it has to have, you know, date, time, location, and you have to sign it to, you know, show that you received notice. Well, something like 200,000 notice to appears never even got into the system because somehow they never got filed by ICE, even though they've, you know, arrested or detained these people. And so they had to let, you know, 200,000 plus people, you know, go out of the system. Now, understanding that, you know, some of those immigrants could have already been, you know, not detained, so they're free because sometimes you can get a notice. Well, not sometimes, usually, most of the time, depending on how you entered into the United States, they will let you go as long as they see that you're not, you know, a threat to national security. You don't have any sort of criminal background, and you know, you maybe have, you know, family or somebody in the U.S. that you can go stay with. They will let you out of their custody, and then they will issue you a notice to appear at a later date. And then there are the other people who are actually detained, you know, at the borders and stuff like that, and put into, you know, detention centers. But 200,000 notice to appear has never even appeared. How ironic is that? And they had to let people go. I say that to say that is what we're dealing with right now. So just imagine now all of these, you know, bills and laws that they're trying to, you know, enact, and, you know, then they're going to have all these people detained, and, you know, the detention centers are going to get overcrowded. And then, you know, is ICE going to be able to do what they're supposed to do on their end and issue these notice to appears that are not, you know, deficient? And it's going to be a whole cluster. Okay. It's going to bog down the system even worse than it already is. And then we're going to be stuck here once again, wondering, you know, what the heck is going on. So, not to be Debbie Downer, because I feel like I'm being Debbie Downer, but I'm not. But just to kind of let you know what is, you know, immigration isn't as easy as people think it is. And they think it's very, you know, cut and dry and, you know, black and white and this, that, and the other. And it's really not. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Now, on a I don't know, I guess on happier notes, with immigration, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the family-based type of like petitions and things like that that can be, you know, so families can be together, okay, and that, you know, you can get your green card, or you can petition for your parents, or, you know, your spouse or your siblings and things like that. So one of the things that we always get questioned about all the time is about children. All right. And children want to petition for their parents, um, you know, either to come to the US or their parents are already in the US. Okay. So you have a scenario where you know, have a mom, have a dad, they, you know, they come to the United States, they ended up, you know, they have children, okay? And the children now, by law, are United States citizens. So they are citizens, okay? But their mom and their parents still are not citizens. So a lot of people always hear, you know, well, when I turn 21, I can petition for my parents. And then my parents can get green cards, and then they can continue to live their life here in the United States without any, you know, issues or anything like that. Well, it's great. And that is a great, you know, obviously it's a wonderful thing to want and to happen. But what people don't understand is they're only hearing like one part of that situation. If you are a child in the United States and you are over 21 and you want to petition for your parents, okay, you will be able to file the first part of the petition, which is called the I-130. So that's petition for alien relative. And all that basically says is, hey, I'm a US citizen child. I'm over 21. My parents are immigrants. They have no status. We are, obviously related, and I want to file for them. So that petition will get approved because you show your relationship with your parents and it gets approved. But what happens is if your parents came here to the US without a visa, so they came illegally into the US, all right? In order for them to actually get their green card, they would have to go a step further and have what's called a waiver, all right? And the waiver is saying or asking the government, hey, will you please excuse my unlawful presence here in the United States and allow me to get a green card? Well, unfortunately, a child, even if you're over 21, even if you're a United States citizen, you cannot be a qualifying relative for the waiver that your parents will need to get their green card. All right. And that's where people, that's where it comes in and people are like, but I'm 21. But if your parents came without status, then they have to have this waiver and you can't be that sponsoring or that qualifying relative. And then everyone wonders, well, why not? All right. Well, you got to think about it like this. If that was the case, all right, and if the government allowed that, then mom and dads would all come over to the US, all right? They would have babies, all right? They're now babies turn 21 and are United States citizens, and then they would apply for them and get their green cards. You really think the government would allow that? No, because then that would be a straight path for them to get a green card and everybody would be doing it. You know what I'm saying? And everybody would come and having babies. And then, okay, overcrowdedness, a lot of babies, the whole issue, yada, yada, yada. So now on the flip side, though, if your parents came with a visa, okay, so they came on a visitor's visa or your mom came on a visitor's visa and then met your dad here and then, they married or whatever, and you are over 21, then you would be able to apply for them because they would not need a waiver. But another thing too, though, is their waiver has to, they would still have to be within legal status, you know what I'm saying, in order for it to even go through that way. So it's one of those situations that is really, really sticky. And there's a lot of children that they want to, be able to apply for their parents, but they can't because of that particular requirement. And so we always want to, explain it and make sure that everyone is aware, because even though you're 21, you still can't apply. Now, the caveat is if you are 21, you live in the United States and your parents are out of the country, okay? Or, because your parent could have came here, had you, whatever, for some reason, whatever, left, or however that might have been, or you somehow got from, out of the country, you came to the US, you might have gotten married, had a, might have gotten married, got your green card, got your citizenship that way, and now you want to bring your parents here to the US, then you can do that. All right. That is all well and good. And it works. And, it's not a problem. So those are a little bit of the differences when it comes to the family-based type of petitions. And then the one other thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up for today is if you are here in the US and you've done everything to get here, you've done everything properly, you now have your green card, okay? You can now become a United States citizen. You want to become a US citizen, okay? Because if you have your green card, you're still not, and I call it safe, all right? And by safe, that means, or by not safe, that means that you can still get in trouble with the law that could get you deported, all right? You could be, and we've had clients like this before, you could be at the wrong place at the wrong time and something go down. And because you don't have citizenship, you are a green card holder, you get tied up, wrapped up in it, you get in, end up in, in the criminal system and have to fight your way out of that. And then also fight your way out of the immigration system because of it. So go ahead and become a United States citizen. If you got your green card through marriage, then in 3 years, you can apply for citizenship. Do it. All right. If you got your green card any other way, it's 5 years, and then apply for citizenship. Because guess what? When you apply for citizenship and you naturalize, you can now vote. What is so important right now that we need in the US? We need people to be able to vote because you can help change these crazy immigration laws. You can, what I'm saying, obviously vote on the presidency because Lord knows we need help when it comes to that. So you can have a say in, what happens to you as, an immigrant who came over from another country and who is now building their life in the US. And you want to see, laws and, things like that change and be more, immigrant friendly and all of that type of stuff. So naturalize so that you can do that. Naturalize so that you can hold office. Hello, if you're holding office, then excuse me, then who can help, change the laws and make the laws and the rules and stuff like that? You can. So, think about that. Don't just think like, oh, but I'm good at being at this level. I got my green card now. I'm good, because one, you still have to renew it every 10 years. And so that's money out your pocket that's going to, USCIS. And two is you're really not good. You know what I'm saying? You're just kind of coasting. You're kind of just there. But, if anything happens that's going to jeopardize that and jeopardize, you being here with your family and you staying here with your family, then, think like, okay, no, I'm really not good. And I need to go ahead and file for my citizenship and naturalize. And then also too, once you do that, then it gives you a whole bunch of power and authority to be able to bring your family and your siblings, your parents, things like that from, another country here in the United States so they can experience what you're experiencing. So that is what I have to say for today when it comes down to immigration. And I want everyone always just have an open mind because, when you think of immigrants, people are always like thinking it's a negative, it's a negative word or it's a negative, but we are a melting pot. The US is, we are all immigrants, okay? And we need everyone here together to, to experience different things, different cultures, to, grow together, and just kind of just help, build the United States. Because don't forget, immigrants pay taxes too. All right. Even though y'all think that they don't, they pay taxes too. So I am Attorney Melanie LaGrone. Everyone calls me Attorney Mel. I am your favorite immigration attorney. If you want to reach out to me or you want to, just kind of, I have a whole bunch of resources and things like that on my website, different blogs and stuff about, different things that I speak about all the time. Feel free to go to www.lagronelaw.com and check us out there. We are all over social media. We are on IG, Facebook, TikTok, and I think all of them are like at LaGrone Law. And if you need to call me, of course, you can call me 678-250-5449. And if you are in in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we do have a different telephone number there. That's 340-626-0778. So give us a call if you ever need any help when it comes to immigration. Until next time.